Welcome to Gospel Truth with Andrew Womack, celebrating 25 years of sharing God's unconditional love and grace on television. And now, here's Andrew.
Welcome to another Gospel Truth broadcast. This is a very special broadcast. This week marks the 25th anniversary of when I started on television. I tell you, that is a miracle. Most of you watching this don't have a clue all of the things that have happened, but it is totally God that has made this happen. And so we're just celebrating the goodness of God, and we're talking about things that will relate to you. I've got this teaching on Don't Limit God. I've got all kinds of things. I've got this little sticker. This is a static cling sticker that you peel off, and you can stick it to a mirror, to a windshield, or something like that. I've got these little books on imagination and Don't Limit God. And we've got just a lot of stuff. We'll be advertising it at the end of the program. But I'm really blessed to have Stephen Bransford with me. And Stephen is a guy who put me on television. And yesterday, if you missed any of the broadcast, we talked a little bit about what it was like to get started. But then we played a 12-minute 25th celebration video, and it's really powerful. So if you haven't seen that, I encourage you to look at it. Stephen put that together. But Stephen, I want to go back, and what I want to do today is talk about some things even before I met you. But you know, I had been on radio since '76, and we started on television in 2000. So what's that, 24 years I had been on radio, and we got to where we had like, I think it was 120 something stations, and we were ministering to people. There was good things happening, but I was just barely keeping my nose above the waterline. I mean, we were facing financial disaster all of the time. And the Lord spoke to me in the summer of 96, or 99. Must have been before that. It was the summer of 98. It was the summer of 98, and told me that I was supposed to go on television. And so in January of 99, I went to my radio partners, which I don't even know how many I had then, but it probably couldn't have been over 500 or 1,000 maximum. And I just told them, I said, radio's one thing, television is a whole nother world. And I knew it was going to be really expensive. And so I said, if we're going to do this, I've got to have an increase in finances. And rather than me going on and expecting them to come in arrears, I've got to have them come in advance. That's just where my faith was. So I advertised this, and I forget exactly how much I think I was asking for $115,000 is what I thought I needed. And when you came on, I told you that I had $75,000. And it's not that I was hiding anything from you, but the other was to buy.
Well, of course.
You had
to buy television time to get started.
And other things.
Yeah.
But you helped PTL, James Robinson, get started. You worked for Billy Graham and did a lot of stuff for them. And when I told you that I had $75,000 to get a set, to get equipment, to hire personnel, to do everything, how did that compare with what you'd done in the past?
Well, it was half my budget for the 6-minute Billy Graham film that I was working on at the time. Anyway, it was a shock. And you asked me, you said, I have this $75,000 for the production side of television. Can that be done? And I was honest. I'm 50 years old by then. I got nothing to prove. You're 50. That's something that's significant. We've both been down the road a ways. I was going to just be
about
honest.
3 months older than you, something like that?
Yeah.
So we're just about the same age.
So I was just going to be honest. And I was there to serve the Lord. That coming in the door, and I'd already received a confirmation that this is it, but I didn't know all the details. So I said, I don't know if that can be done. $75,000 is not much. I remember you saying that. That
wasn't encouraging to me.
No, and I said, who told you? And you told me a friend of yours, Bobby Crow, had told you could do television for that amount. So I called Bobby Crow. And he was giving me kind of prosumer cameras, 3 and a switcher, and all the typical things you do in a TV studio that you could do with that money. And I knew that somehow that wasn't going to be right. So I took that in, then I started researching, and boy, it was miraculous, Andrew. I got to tell you, the Lord began leading me to the right places. But I want to bring something up. The anniversary we're celebrating of your start on television is January, okay? But when I met you, you said, I want to go on television in September.
Well,
I want to thank you for giving me more time, because by the time I got on board in July and started the process, we didn't have anything. I didn't know if we could do it with that budget. But look what God did. You gave me the extra time to get on the air, and what that did was it allowed us to build that first set, and people saw glimpses of that first set, and it's a nice looking set. I mean, it wasn't bad. It's not this beautiful one that we upgraded to, in 2011, but it served us for 11, 12 years.
And it was miraculous how we got that.
That was God, because I had tried. Here's the thing. I wanted to build everything around what your gift in ministry was and who you were. And I went to your home, if you'll remember that, and sat down and just saw how you lived, and you had this $60,000 home on top of a mountain in Colorado. And so I love Colorado, I love the outdoors, and you did, and so I saw those kinds of things as fitting who you were. They weren't just something pasted on, like this set right here is who you are. We built this based on your personality and your ministry gifts. Plus your location. You look out the window, you see the scene of Garden of the Gods, and you see Pikes Peak, which is where we live. All of that started coming together, but I couldn't find a set builder to put that set in the corner of that classroom once we got going.
People wouldn't understand how we got started, but we actually put that set in our Charis Bible College classroom, and the instructors had to teach on the set.
That's right.
And I had to wait until school was out before I could make programs, because we were having to use the same room for studio and school.
And the room had bad echoes and sound, and so we would hang blankets around the set in the classroom. We looked like what? We looked like the Beverly Hillbillies getting started.
Yeah.
It was great, though, because the program was the same as it is today. You were teaching to that one camera, which, we got, and by the way, just to let the people know, I got you on the air actually for a little bit under that budget.
And that's because, like, when you were with PTL, how many people did you have in your television department?
Oh, my goodness. We had, like you have here, almost 100.
Yeah, and you probably had multiple cameras and just all kinds of stuff. And I'm guessing, but I bet you it was $1 million or more or something that you had. And here you started with $75,000 set, equipment, salaries, everything.
Yeah, here it was God. How can I say it otherwise? Because, and I began to get thrilled. I got to tell you, I knew as we started putting things together, and you let me take the little more time to get the post-production together, I can't explain to the audience the technical miracles that happened one after another, but I'll say the one thing about the set. I needed something that looked like you, because I'd been to your home, and so I began to describe it as something I'd seen at Christmas. Kathy Lee Gifford did a Christmas special that year.
I saw that.
That was in Beaver Creek, Colorado. And I had seen her special, and I'd seen how the set had been built there. And I said, I want that kind of look for Andrew. And so I began to bring in from Focus on the Family and other Christian organizations, set designers and people, and telling them that, and they would draw things for me, and nothing was working. I went to a Broadway designer in Denver. He couldn't do it. I'm sitting there wondering, how are we going to go forward? This is August. And in my door, literally walked two men, and they said, we hear that you're looking for someone to design and build a set. And I said, yes, I am. And the one guy said, well, I have a warehouse where I build sets just 5 blocks from your building here on Robinson. And the other gentleman said, and I'm the designer, and he said, I designed Kathy Lee Gifford's Christmas.
How
Beaver Creek
miraculous is
set.
that?
You try to calculate those odds. When that happened, I knew the Lord had spoken, because you can't make that happen.
Plus, all of the other people that you had contacted, the sets were much more expensive. We got that set designed.
$8,000.
$8,000, and it was
Designed and built.
It was because they were out of work, they were in between jobs, and they said, we just need something to fill a gap, and so they basically built it nearly at cost.
They did, and they did some extras on it that just, subtle little things. They put their heart and soul into that first set.
Yeah.
And so for 12 years, praise God, it served us. And then it was time to
But let me go back to my radio partners, because before I went on television, radio partnerships, I would have to guess, but I am sure that our income was probably never over $1 million a year on radio. And that's with me being on like 120 radio stations. We had 20-something employees, and that was bare bones. We had collection agencies that would come after us. We would go in feast and famine mode and stuff. And so we were struggling, and we had no extra money, zero, nada. And when I went to my radio partners, for them to supply an extra $115,000 or $20,000, whatever it was, for me to get to hire you, to get the set built, the equipment, and then pay, I think it was 3 or 4 months airtime I was thinking of. I'd never had that kind of a response in my life to anything. And in January of '99, I just went to my partners and told them what God had laid on my heart and asked if they would support it. And I think we had $150,000 come in. And we designated $75,000 of that towards all of these production things. And it was just the greatest miracle that I had ever experienced financially. And then when we started on the old PTL Network, Inspiration.
NSP. Yep.
And we started on that, and it only covered 3% of the U.S. population. And again, I'm guessing, don't hold me to these things, but I think that the cost was about like $26,000 a month is what that cost for 3% of the U.S. population. And that was stretching us to the max.
Yeah.
And yet within, I'd say 2 months, 3 months, we had that much income coming in from those programs, which it just defies all of the logic that we've ever had. And of course, Doug Neese, Integrity Media, they were our media buyers, and they were the ones that bought the time for Kenneth Copeland airtime. At that time, I think it was Creflo Dollar. Many of the people, they had probably $40 million a year that they spent on television airtime, and we were just little tiny, but they were shocked at the response that we had. And it was just God in every single way.
Well, Andrew, I asked you one thing in that when we started, and I said to you, now, once we had decided on the table, by the way, we bought this table without this top for this is the same table that you started with 25 years ago on television.
But when we built
chairs, we just redressed them.
Yeah, when we built this set, they wanted to make it a little bit more compatible. So they covered the chairs and put a top on the table. Other than that, it's the one we've been using for 25 years. But I asked you back then, I said, Andrew, what have you done on radio that's successful? And you said something to me that just jumped out. You said, I give product away. And when I heard that, I really, really thought this is going to be strong in your partners' hearts. And as I went out after we got going, and when I would go with you to meetings, I would talk to your partners. I would say, so what is it that causes you to be a partner? And again, I heard it. Andrew gives things away. And in the beginning, we actually received things free just to make sure he wasn't lying. Yep.
And when we realized that Andrew meant that, then we want to be a part of it. We want to give to be a part of that. And so I started putting on television this phrase, we want to thank our grace partners for making these donations so that it's possible for us to give product away to people in need. And that one motivation is such a big one with your audience. And I don't know that I've found it anywhere else in ministry, wherever I've been.
Now, that one sentence really says a lot right there. Our partners have enabled us to do this.
Yeah.
And they're the ones that enabled me to go on television. And like I said, I don't remember the exact number of radio partners, but I imagine it was around 500. Now we have over 70,000. And all of that has come through television. Our monthly bills are a minimum of $8 million a month.
Yeah.
And we used to get less than $1 million in an entire year. It's just phenomenal what God has done. And television, you know, let me say to the people watching, I don't always say this, but I started in ministry in '68 is when the Lord touched my life. Immediately I started ministering, and I had been on radio since 1976. And so for all of those decades, I had been ministering, but the Lord woke me up on July the 26th, I think it was, of 1999. And I had a dream. I won't go into the whole thing, but He told me, He says, your ministry is just now starting. When you start on television, January the 3rd, 2000, that will be the start of your ministry. So by that time, I had been in ministry for 32 years, and yet God was telling me I was just getting started, which was a little discouraging to think that for 32 years I had been in training, but it was also encouraging at the same time because that meant that all of the great things that we had seen, it was going to be better. And it really did prove to be that way. And when I started on television, I don't know how to describe it other than that's the start of my ministry. Everything up until that time was to prepare me. But when we started on television, man, we just started seeing miraculous results. We broke records all of the time.
Yeah.
And Stephen, you've been an integral part of that.
You know, I represent, I'm so honored to have started at the beginning when it was so small, but to see it today, I'm representing, 800, 900 people who are behind the scenes here. I'm a behind the scenes person. You drug me out here. Now people will know who I am. I also was the only employee.
Yeah, I was
for
thinking
6 months.
I was thinking about that because when we first started, you were the only employee, and then we had a guy in our Bible school who had been in prison.
Yeah.
And in prison, he learned how to run a
That's
camera,
right.
and he volunteered
Dennis.
to run the camera.
Yeah.
So I don't think he was a paid employee, was he? He was a volunteer.
No, he was a volunteer.
And so you were the only employee. And after you would set up the set, control all of the lights, do everything, then you would take the program and you did all of the editing, which you had never done that before.
And I'd never done that. I'd always hired people to do that. So that's why I told you I didn't know if this could be done, but to get it under budget, this is how it was. Now, I was willing to hire someone, but I didn't have to
money.
because I actually was able to do the program.
Yeah.
And so you had the gift to sit down and deliver 2 weeks of programs in one day. I would take those 2 weeks and I would work on them over that next 2-week period. I would get them ready for broadcast. I would print out the labels, put it on there to INSP, and send it in the mail, out in the video, just one video. That's how we started. One little beta SP.
But you know, the Lord had prepared me too, because for 24 years I had been doing radio, which even though there's a big difference between television and radio, I learned how to talk to a mic.
Oh, man.
And I remember the very first week that we did television, I might have had a 10-minute adjustment, but within 10 minutes, I was talking to that camera just the same as I talked to the radio, and it was nearly a seamless transition. And you even said in that little video that we played yesterday that I learned how to take radio and put it on TV.
Absolutely.
But you know, God had prepared both of us for such a time as this.
Right.
And God brought us together. And again, you are the only one. I wanted 3 cameras. I was just going to model it after the way everybody else did it. And you told me, says, no, your style is, it's just like you talking to a person one-on-one. And I remember Doug Neese, who we mentioned earlier, and he was our media buyer, and he bought millions of dollars worth of time for everybody else. We sent him our first program to ask his critique, and he critiqued a couple of things. But then I remember asking him, so what did you think about the one camera? And he just paused, and he says, what? And I said, what did you think about the one? He said, was there only one camera? He didn't realize it.
I had the very same conversation with the Vice President of Billy Graham. He saw your program on the road after he knew I'd come to your ministry. And he called me and he says, well, I saw your program. And he said, I really enjoyed it. And I said, so what did you think of the one camera? And it was silence.
Yeah.
It's like, you're kidding. Because it's the content.
We're going to have to quit. You're behind the camera. I'm looking at the timer. We're out of time.
Where did that time go?
Real quickly, I'm going to let my announcer give you more detail, but I've got a free little sticker here about Don't Limit God. I've got a teaching on that, taking the limits off God. These are all freebies here, and I've got a little booklet that's an introduction to my teaching on imagination. Then I've got the book entitled Don't Limit God, CDs, DVDs, a study guide, and a lot of things. Please get these products. I tell you what God has done for me, He's willing to do for anybody. And listen as our announcer gives you this information.
Andrew is offering his booklets, Take the Limits Off God, and Believing is Seeing in either English or Spanish as his free gifts to you today. This offer is limited to one set of booklets per household and is available in the US, UK, Canada, and Australia. Contact us today to receive your free booklets. Andrew's complete series, Don't Limit God, is available as a book, study guide, CD album, and as a TV DVD album made from our daily television broadcast. You can also receive a free Don't Limit God sticker when you contact us. Also available today is the Don't Limit God 20 Years Later CD and TV DVD album. Each of these valuable resources are available for a gift of any amount when you contact us. This entire series is also available for audio download, absolutely free from our website. You can call the Andrew Womack Ministries Canada helpline Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern Time at 647-348-2220 to order.
One of the ways that people have been giving is what we call legacy giving. This is an end-of-life gift, and so I would encourage you to check it out. We'll have some information there on the screen, but this is a way of you just continuing your giving. Even after you've gone to be with the Lord, you can still be a blessing to all of the people that we're ministering to. So check out the information on the screen and become a part of our legacy giving today.
Do you want to dive deeper into God's Word? Now you can with Andrew Womack's Living Commentary.
I'd like to encourage you to get this living commentary. We call it a living commentary because I'm still writing it. And I've written footnotes on over 27,000 verses in the Bible. And I promise you, this is powerful. It's not only got my commentary and experiences and revelations that God has given me, but it's got Greek and Hebrew words defined. It's got references and just all kinds of things here. It would be a tremendous blessing to you. So check it out, our Living Commentary.
The Living Commentary includes 2 dictionaries, 4 commentaries, and 12 versions of the Bible, plus atlases and biblical maps. Grow in the Word with Andrew's Living Commentary software. You can enjoy the Word of God wherever you are, on your phone, computer, or tablet. Download the Living Commentary today.
As a nurse and nutritionist, Vanya's faith was in the medical community. Like the Gospel's account of the woman with the issue of blood, Vanya would suffer many things from many physicians until she had the faith to reach out to Jesus for her healing.
We went through that procedure and I just went to the follow-up alone, and he sat next to me because these are my friends. And he said, "You have cancer." And he goes, "I'm so sorry." On the way home, I just said out loud in my car, "You made me smart, God. I'm gonna get out of this on my own.
Months passed, and Vanya's condition was only getting worse. Knowing her days were numbered, she was desperate to try anything, and in the middle of a detox session, researched bentonite clay at the suggestion of a doctor. It was in this search that she would find the key to her healing, just not in the way she had ever imagined.
I'm laying on the floor, so sideways, I hit the wrong button, and Nikki Ochinsky pops up on my screen. She's, oh, she's so happy, and she's so perky, and I'm thinking, when is she gonna start talking about clay?
When the doctor finally came out, he goes, "Oh, Nikki, what happened? Jesus healed me like I told you he was going to."
I'm like, this is too good to be true, so I type in Nikki Ochinsky's obituary. When I typed that in, I didn't get anything except more testimonies and this guy, Andrew Womack.
Vanya looked up Andrew Womack and discovered a ministry full of resources, including a daily television program and dozens of healing testimonies.
We have to assure our heart with the word. Our heart will condemn us, and our heart will say, well, you don't have solid proof that you're anything. Well, I would just get the word out, and I would assure my heart, no, this is what the word says. This is my proof.
As she renewed her mind with Scripture, Vanya saw radical improvements. She took her family to Colorado to see the Easter performance of God with Us, where she met Andrew.
Andrew point blanked her and said, "Are you healed?"
I just go, yes, I am. And man, if I could have pulled those words back or slapped myself, I would have, but I knew it was true.
Today, Vanya is walking in her complete healing and is continuing in the Word. Her entire family is experiencing God's love like never before.
I want to let all of you know who are watching our program in Canada that we have a Canadian office. We also have a website, awmc.ca, and you can go there and you can get all of our materials sent to you from our Canadian office. You can become a partner with us and give, and the money will stay right there to help us reach people in Canada. We would love to help you and minister to you any way we can.
To learn more about the vision and mission of Andrew Womack Ministries Canada, be sure to visit our website at awmc.ca. While there, you'll also find details about all of the products available and be able to access many of Andrew's teachings absolutely free. You can listen to them while you're online or download them for later and listen on the go. The free materials offered by this ministry are made possible by the generous support of our friends and partners. If Andrew's teachings are making a difference in your life, consider becoming a Grace Partner with Andrew Womack Ministries Canada today. Grace Partners are special friends of the ministry who commit to giving $30 or more per month to help Andrew reach thousands of people here in Canada and around the world with the life-changing message of God's unconditional love and grace. If you'd like to become a Grace Partner today, go to awmc.ca. Thank you for your support, and we look forward to hearing from you today.